Welcome to the Polaris Connection. This is part one of a two-part series interviewing Nathan Palmer, the co-founder and the heart behind Polaris Academy. Nathan's vision has built more than just a school. It's a place where neurodivergent children are seen, understood, and given the tools to shine in the real world. With a passion rooted in both personal experience and a deep belief in every child's potential, Nathan and his wife, Darcy, has turned a dream into a thriving community that empowers students and supports families. We are excited to hear the story, the challenge, and the heart behind Polaris Academy. Nathan Palmer, thank you for being here. Welcome to the show.
Brad, thank you, and appreciate the intro. That was is touching.
Well,
good to be here.
It is. It's neat to see you work. I've seen a lot of the behind the scenes, and that's kind of why we wanted to talk today, to show really the struggles, the triumphs, the challenges that led you and your wife to starting a school, Polaris Academy. We're ready to dive in. Are you ready?
Let's do it. I think I dove in 2 years ago, and we're just still diving.
Well, it has definitely been a process. So tell us real quick, before we get into Polaris Academy, give us a little bit of your background. What have you done? What was your previous life before Polaris Academy started?
Good phrase. It actually does feel like a previous life. So, my background is in real estate and development. I was a real estate broker for a good 20 years. Did development within that, land development, actually with you, Brad, started getting into some commercial development. Somewhere in there, I had the crazy idea to go back to law school when my wife was pregnant and life was crazy. And so then I became a contract attorney, real estate attorney, small business matters. And yeah, so a lot of hats for sure.
Well, it does sound like a lot. Now, what made you you went to law school? And I have the benefit of knowing you before. So I know you're doing a lot of development, do a lot of real estate, but then all of a sudden you had this itch to go to law school. And I understand that was a kind of a big leap to do so. What decisions or what led you to go back to law school?
That's a two-part answer. In hindsight, I can tell you because it prepped me for what we're doing here.
Right.
At the time, so when I first met my wife, I was in my last semester of college. And at that time, I was planning to do postgraduate law school, and that was kind of my track. I met Darcy and things shift sometimes. And so I was taking a real estate class at the same time, like, well, one day I'd like to buy a house. Maybe I should look into real estate because I want to know how that process works.
Sure.
And one thing came after the next. Real estate started becoming successful, and going to law school just seemed inconvenient. But it seemed to be this topic that I'd bring up once a year, once every other year in marriage. And, finally, 15 years into it, when I asked, hey, what do you think about law school? And she started asking me questions, my wife, Darcy, about, well, would you move for law school? I was like, well, no. And so it kind of whittled down this path of, well, do you think you get accepted to law school? I don't know. And so it was, well, why don't you go take the LSAT and see if you do good? And if you do, you can think about it. And if not, then stop. And then I did okay. And well, would you go anywhere other than ASU? No. Why don't you apply? See if you even get accepted. If you do, you can think about it. If not, you can stop.
And let me stop you there. Arizona State's the only university out there, right? We all can agree to that. I mean, we're all Sun Devil fans here, so that's great. All right.
Yes, I'm learning more about school pride. And it just became this thing that the more I walked down the path, the more I felt I should do it. It's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. And why I did it, I don't know. It was completely crazy. I couldn't have done it without her. But it turned into a huge blessing for this thing we've created in Polaris.
Right.
So,
and it seems like in life, you just don't know exactly where it's going to take you until you're there. And one thing that I know about you, talk a little bit about your law classes. I love this part about like what classes did you have to take and what were required and what are some extra classes that you took that other students didn't really push for?
Sure. So the first year is kind of programmed for you, and you learn about all the things about law you do or don't want. I learned really quick I was not a traditional attorney. I never wanted to see the inside of a courtroom. And so transactional law is kind of where I geared, and contract writing, writing instruments. So I took probably 3 or 4 different writing classes. Most students take just the first one you're required to do and never take another. I took 4. And yeah, so, me drafting contracts and building structures, I really enjoy that.
Yes,
and
you do.
It's come in handy for this new one. So
Like, I've had the benefit to work with you for the last, however long we've been together. I always say that Nathan writing contracts is like watching Da Vinci paint or sculpture. So it really is awesome. Then kind of what are some, so you got into real estate, doing development. What are some moments in your life that kind of led you to Polaris Academy? I guess more importantly, like what was happening in your life that you needed to kind of start as school?
That was a single event. I hear what you're asking. There's a lot of things in my life that prepared me for it, and that's a really long answer. But what triggered it? It was my son getting rejected from his third or fourth school when we were looking for options.
Now, why would he be rejected though?
It depended on the school. In one, they didn't think he was academic enough. In another, they were worried he had diabetes and there were medical concerns. In another, they just didn't have room. And this last one, we actually thought we were going back for an acceptance appointment. So we'd been before.
Okay.
They had some concerns about his diabetes, and so we made a lot of push to kind of get him more independent, so it was less of a school issue, it was more personal accountability. Thought we had gotten him there, and it still ended up being a no. And so in the parking lot, I was just frustrated and just kind of said, that's it, starting my own. And it was just one of those things you say, right? I think every parent out there at some point has said, I'm just going to do it my way. But for whatever reason, that seed took root and it grew into Polaris.
Well, going back to your experience, is this common for parents? Like first of all, why did you want Nate Jr. to go to an autistic school? Like, obviously he's on the spectrum.
Yeah.
But why is that an option?
It's not for everybody. I think we covered it a little bit in our couples interview with me and Darcy, but when he first got diagnosed, like a lot of parents, I thought, well, let's just put him around these quote unquote normal kids so he can just learn his way out of it. It's a really juvenile way to approach it. And what I thought was a good environment, and in many ways it was, public school for him, the staff and the supports he got, the friendships, they were great as far as supporting him, but he felt displaced. The older he got, the more he became aware that he was not like his peers, and it was shutting him down.
What moment do you remember?
It was third grade.
What happened, specifically?
It was a couple things. One, his academics started to regress. Like we'd go in for his meetings, and they'd say, "Hey, he's struggling with these skills," and these are things that I know he knows because I did them with him at home.
Okay.
And so I saw how he started gaming his teachers, right? And he was in a class where there was more kids, and kids on the spectrum are really good at getting what they want emotionally. Like they struggle socially sometimes, but they know how to get what they want.
I like how you say gaming.
Yes. No, and it kind of is. And so they know where your limits are. They find those boundaries and they know how to get you there. And so it just got to a point where the staff was like, yeah, we're not equipped to give him what he needs as much as we'd love to. COVID hit right after that. So we tried homeschooling, and that's a route that many parents choose. I'm a great dad. I'm not a homeschooler. My wife is an amazing mom, but with 4 boys at home, it's just he needed more than we had to offer. And that's the struggle, right? Is you want to give, but you just don't know how. Well,
and you see that parents are trying to find resources, and they can either find it in outside institutions, but I also see that a lot of parents go homeschool. Mm-hmm. Is that because they are not happy with what's available in the outside, like institutions, or?
I have to imagine some of it's just a preference, but yeah, in large part, it's because it's hard to find a place where their kids fit.
Wow.
It's really hard.
That's hard to imagine. Like that'd be tough to. So then you're in this space with Nate Jr. He just got rejected from a third school, which anybody that would feel.
I honestly, I forget now. It was a lot.
How does, if I can get a little bit personal, how do you explain that how old was Nate Jr. at that time? Because he's got to be aware that, hey, I'm going to this school, and now it's not. That was like I'm not going back. How do you explain that?
Well, he got rejected, meaning he never got admitted.
Right. No, but in these
from like public school?
In these tours, like he's there, right? Or do you not?
No, on one of them he was there, and he witnessed when the staff person said he wasn't smart enough to be there. It was awful. Sometimes we wonder how much they internalize it. He knew he was different. It was a horrible experience.
Wow. And then how do you explain that with them? Like, how do you unravel that?
Oh, we tell them that they're the ones that are stupid and he's actually really smart. It just, it's the life of a parent with a kid on the spectrum. You're reframing things all the time. That's just part and parcel to the experience.
Wow, that's hard. That's hard to imagine. Like, I don't know. So then so you're in a frustrated moment and you know that what is out there is not working for your family. Not too many people would say, well, okay, I'm going to build a school. I'm just going to go take this on. It's not like you didn't have anything else that you were doing. No. I mean, obviously you love your child, but what pushed you to really take the next step?
It's funny you use the word pushed. I would describe it as I was pulled.
Okay.
And
explain. Yeah. What does that mean?
Yeah. So, and whether you believe in the divine or providence, I reached out very quickly a few days after this event just because I couldn't let the thought go. Like when the seed planted and I kept thinking, well, what would that look like? What would that look like? Maybe I try something with 10 or 15 kids because we had an idea of what the ideal school would be, but I'd never found it. I didn't know if it would work. And so I called a very close confidant of mine. He was a man that I trust. He's kind of a mentor in my life personally. He's been very successful. And I just wanted to brainstorm with him. It's like, hey, can I explain this idea? I want to get your thoughts. It was just a few minutes into the conversation. He stops me and says, Nathan, I love it. I'm in. What do you need?
Wow.
And it took me back. So I was like, I wasn't soliciting. I was just asking for advice. And he shared some personal information on his side where the timing of that call was, it was just perfect for something he and his wife are looking to do to get more involved in the community. I mean, the stars aligned.
So you're saying not only was the call made, but it was called at the right time in his life.
The exact right time and circumstances.
Wow.
He and I went to lunch a couple of days later, and we're not educators. So we thought, well, we need somebody that knows what they're doing in the school space. I had this idea, and it was the blending of academics and therapies in a way no one had done yet. And we're like, we need somebody that knows the school side because I don't want that to fall short.
Well, real quick, so what made you come up with this idea of blending therapy and academics?
Because they're not.
So that's kind of silly. Like, I explained that better because I thought most schools do have that.
They offer the supports, right? So. And there's been a lot of attempts at doing this, but the hard reality is it comes down to the funding source. So schools get funding from the Department of Education, whether they're private or public, it all kind of comes from that funding pool. ABA therapy, which is the most common form of developmental or behavioral therapy, is funded through health insurance. And then a lot of the other support therapies, speech, occupational, music, those are funded through state DoD services. And so it's kind of three buckets. And because they're funded separately, no one's allowed to cross lanes.
How come?
Well, so medical billing, it's medical necessity. So you can do ABA therapy if it's a medical need, but you can't have educational goals. And academics can't work on medical needs. And so you have this environment where to get them support during school day, you're either pulling them out of class because now they're going into a medical environment, not an academic one, or you're just not sending them to school, or you're taking them to therapies after school. So no matter how you do it, you're either overburdening their day with a 10, 12-hour day, or you're giving up one for the other in every case.
Well, and one thing that I saw from you, and we talked about this earlier, because I knew you, I saw this crazy lifestyle that you had of jumping from one therapist to another with Nate Jr. And that is like how long of a mostly Darcy ran that.
Oh yeah.
And how many hours did she spend a day just driving? I mean, it's like a full-time job.
It's all the time, Brad.
That's crazy.
It was all the time. I mean, we couldn't do as many extracurricular activities with our other kids because it was all the time. It is such an investment. And look, parents do it. We're not unique in that sense. Mm-hmm. It's a lot.
That's when you first explained that to me a long time ago, I couldn't imagine. Wow. And then, so now kind of going back to the three buckets, so you have all these educators, you have ABA therapists, and then you have specials like OTs and so forth. If you ever, don't you remember like in Ghostbusters when they say don't cross the streams? So you cross the streams, and what made you decide, hey, we're going to just throw this all together? Like, what gave you the idea that it would work? Because it's different. Like, okay, we're going to cross all this stuff, but how do you know it's going to work?
My gut just told me it would. Honestly, Brad, I mean, these are two groups of people that have never worked together in the way that we've done it. And so it's funny because, I like to do a lot of our tours for families. I like to share my story. I like to hear theirs. And I was on a tour just a couple months ago, and one of our staff members says, your tours are different now. I says, what do you mean? He says, well, last year it was like, we hope it's going to work. And we have this idea, we think it's going to be great. And now we're telling them, hey, we did this thing and it is great and it does work. And I was like, you're right. It's a shift. It was just a hope. That idea, really the premise, Brad, was instead of billing health insurance and instead of getting reimbursed from state services, we were just going to hire all these therapists as school employees, really just have highly overqualified classroom aides, wow. Right? It's super expensive to do. It's why no one's really tried it before, because from a margin standpoint, it does not make a lot of financial sense.
No, and again, some of the things behind the curtains is when we started this business, my task was to put together forecasting projections, and that was hard because the margins are, it's a little bit of a challenge. Very, very awesome people.
If you're not careful, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's why no one's really done it to the level we have, this full integration. But I will tell you, this has been as a parent, right? And I accept I'm biased. This has been the single best experience for my son we've ever had.
Incredible. But again, it's such an investment, such a sacrifice and a labor of love that we're all involved with. Now we kind of got off track. I want to go back. So you have, you're working with a good friend that's kind of helping you put in line what to do. He believes in you. I believed in you as well. At first, when you brought me the concept, I was skeptical because I didn't quite understand it.
I remember the whiteboard. So Nathan, explain, what's ABA again? How does this work?
So full disclosure, 2 years ago, what year was this?
23.
23 when we started. Nathan brought this up to me, and he talked about ABA therapy, and I was like, what's ABA therapy? So we had a big old office, and I'm like, because I kept asking him these questions, like, how does this work? And Nathan had to whiteboard it, just put like, okay, this is what this means. This is what this means. And so that's where I started. I didn't know anything about therapy. Honestly, I didn't know much about autism about 2-3 years ago. I just, again, I don't have any children on the spectrum. I've never grown up in that environment. But learning about it has been incredible journey. So, again, going back, you have a close friend that's working with you, starting with with this concept of therapy and academic in one model, but you're missing a big piece of the puzzle: academic leadership.
Yeah.
So explain how that came about.
It's funny. Some of the private schools we toured, they were safe places for our kid, but it felt like a lot of times the academics were lacking because maybe the expectations just weren't there. There was a wonderful principal. He was actually my son's original principal. He was a principal for my other 3 boys, Los Angeles Elementary, and it was consistently one of the highest ranked schools in the state. He had a great reputation. This mentor friend of mine was also aware of him. His daughter had worked for him. We're like, we need a guy like that. And so our plan was, I remember we went to lunch in March. We're like, we're gonna get a name, because I didn't have even a name for the company. We hadn't filed any documents for the LLC. We're going to get some branding, a website, some business cards. We're going to approach him over the summer when he's got time and see if he'll consult with us and help us build this academic team.
Now, what time was this? Like what?
It was March of 23. This is literally a couple of days after I made the phone call, which was a couple of days after I melted down in the parking lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a great plan.
So the summer of 23, that was the big pitch to, and who was this educator?
His name was Aaron Kazmarek. He's our principal today. Yeah.
We also know him as Mr. K.
Mr. K, yeah. Couldn't have done it without him. I wanted somebody that just had a pure academic background. I wasn't looking for an autistic professional. And it's because I wanted the highest standard and level of care I could bring for their educational development as possible. And I just didn't want that tainted in any way by prior experience with maybe dumbing it down or simplifying it. I wanted to see what these kids could do.
Right.
And I loved the culture he built at that school. It just felt like a place that I wanted my son to go. That's why I think I left him there till 3rd grade. So it was a few days after that meeting, I'm dropping my boys off at school, my other 3 boys. Every so often, Mr. K is out there doing crossing guard duty. So this is a spring morning. It was a little bit of a light rain. I was in my workout clothes and my Mickey Mouse sweater. And again, call it providence or intervention. I see him out there with his umbrella. He gives me a little wave as I'm driving by in my truck, and I get this impression, go talk to him. Okay. And I just immediately shoved it down, like, no, I'm in my gym clothes. I don't even know what this thing's called. No. So I park, walk my kids to the front, and as I'm walking back, he just waves to me, and I just get this feeling, go talk to him. So I did. He instantly asked me how my son was doing because little Nate was his bud.
He knew your family.
Absolutely. And I just opened up. This is, for him, not great. I've been trying to find schools, shared some of the struggles. And I said, so I think I'm just going to start my own. And he just locked eyes and he says, are you serious? I was like, yeah, I think I'm serious. And he says, okay, well, if you're serious, let me run it for you.
No way.
Totally caught me off guard. I mean, I think I was more flabbergasted. So I just said, okay. And we just shook hands and I left. And I'm like thinking to myself, did that just happen? So the next day I go back and he's out again. He's like, I was hoping you were going to come back. I'm like, okay, because I just want to make sure I understand. You want to run this for us? He says, yeah. And the more I talked to him, and I had explained initially I was going to wait till summer. He says, Nathan, if you had done that, it would have been a no. I'm in my contract period right now. And I didn't know for educators that was in the spring.
Okay.
And he's like, I'm in kind of a window where I have to decide what I'm going to do. I'm up for retirement next year, which I didn't know. And I'm trying to decide what I want to do and where I want to go. And I want to continue in education, and special needs has always been a special place in my heart. So if you are serious about this, I'll run it for you. So had I waited till summer, he would not be there. Things would have not have developed the way they were supposed to.
So if you would have done your original plan, business cards, name, summer, let's do the pitch.
Yeah.
It might not have worked.
No.
Wow. So just by following your gut, following your prompting, intuition, whatever you want to call it.
And that's why I kind of focused on that word push versus pulled. Brad, you and I have worked together a long time. I am used to pushing things across the finish line. I'm used to the grind and the struggle of getting things done. This has pulled me in a way that I'm just running to try to keep up.
Well, and again, we've been working together for a long time. Like when you say we push a lot of projects, that is so true. From all the projects that we've worked with before, what's been incredible to see is that Polaris Academy has just been this floodgate of opportunities, meaning that's pulling all of us in this direction. And that is amazing. So going back to Aaron Kazmarek, when that's also a big leap of faith for him too.
Yeah.
Because with him saying, hey, I'll help run a school that had no name, no location.
Oh, yeah.
No kids.
No kids.
Just a concept.
Yeah.
That's a big leap for him too.
Huge. I mean, we were hiring for a job that we hadn't created and I wasn't sure how to pay for. I can't thank him enough for the degree of trust he placed in us.
So that's either really smart or that's insane.
Or it's meant to be.
I like that better.
Yeah.
It's
neither smart or insane. It's just what was going to happen.
Well, and that's why I hope our listeners understand that putting together Polaris was these awesome moments kind of laid on top of each other. One was one of the founders, having that conversation and trust in your vision, yours and Darcy's vision. Two was connecting Aaron as to kind of help on the academic side. Now, and then the other part, which we haven't talked about, is the therapy side.
Yeah.
But before we jump into therapy, I want to talk about Aaron real quick. How many autistic schools did he run at
0.
this time? So then why would he be a good choice to run a school?
Because he was the academic piece. Again, this whole idea, Brad, was to bring both things to the table without sacrificing either.
Okay.
I didn't want somebody to just go about autism education the way others have done it. I felt this was a new approach, and I didn't want anybody tainted with prior experience. Does that make sense? I saw what he did. I saw the culture. I saw the team. I saw the creativity he did in his STEM and his academic, prowess. He was the kind of person that, I always hoped we'd have in a school like this. And I never imagined it would be him. I'm so glad it was. But I can tell you that's exactly where his strength has been, is bringing that academic excellence to our school. It's why, I'm really proud to share we're up for a candidacy review for our Cognia accreditation.
Okay, what's Cognia?
Cognia is a national firm that accredits public institutions across the nation. They're kind of the gold standard for academic excellence and accreditation. It's something you need to be able to, have a state-issued diploma for your kids one day from high school. And I want my son to graduate. I want him to go to college. So I wanted this from the beginning to be not just some idea I opened. I wanted it to be held to a higher standard, and I needed academic training to do that. It's because of Aaron, I believe, and the systems he put in, that we took what is traditionally a 3-year process, and we were able to do in 1.
No, wait. So to get Cognia certified, it's typically a 3-year process.
They usually want to analyze 3 years of data to make sure you know how to track data, act on it, create systems to move on it. We did it in our first year.
So you're saying that all that process, all the tracking, the systems in place were done within a year, or did they just feel bad that we were running a school for autistic kids and just say, hey, you know what, we're just going to give this to you guys because we know that you're trying to do something good in the world?
No, it's because it was all built in that first year.
That's incredible. That's amazing. Thanks to Aaron and you. I mean, that's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Now, Cognia certified, what are some other schools that we can compare that are Cognia certified?
And I'd hate to list them by name. A lot of them, will note on their website. Almost all public schools are Cognia certified.
Public high schools in the state.
Yep, even elementary schools. A lot of the private schools are not, either because they just choose not to be or they've never pursued it. Mm-hmm. There are some that are. So that's something just to be cautious of, to know that, hey, does my child have a path to a state-recognized graduation? Because if they're not accredited, they don't. They don't.
And the parents just need to be aware of that.
Yes.
So that when they're making choices for schools and institutions, so how would a parent say that when they do a tour of a school? Hey, are you Cognia certified, or is this state because Cognia is a national recognized diploma. So the state would recognize that too. Mm-hmm. By default or because it meets those standards. How should parents ask, or what should parents look for if they want that high accreditation?
Just that straight up question: are you accredited, and through who? And then just do the research. Okay. Right. Some are rubber stamp accreditations. Others are, like Cognia, it's a full systemic research of what are you doing. It's really a check of, if you were to get hit by a bus tomorrow, is your school going to live on and survive and thrive? Or have you built something that is designed to bring about academic results?
So if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, Polaris will keep going.
Absolutely.
Right? Hope you don't.
Me too.
But would you say Cognia, is that the highest accreditation that you can get for high school diplomas, or is there other ones? Or
it's the highest I could find, Brett. Yeah, it's really their level of distinguishment and the number of smaller accreditation firms they kind of sponsor through if you need that extra support. It's been unreal. And
that's crazy.
When we're done, we will be the first what's called systemic accredited, both academic and STEM certified accredited school that they've done. Will be the first in Arizona and possibly nationally.
Wow.
For a private autism.
So are you making a public announcement right now? Are we breaking the news right now?
Unless something changes between now and when it finalizes, and I'll double check when I get there. They're actually checking their registry. I will break the news when I know for sure it's accurate. But that is the intention.
Well, also, I'm glad that we can.
We were the first autism certified school. We're going to be the first system accredited academic and STEM accredited school in the Cognia network.
Well, and that's what's so exciting. Like, we can talk so much about this school. There's been a lot of passionate work, a lot of people giving. So we have the academic side, and I know that when we put this together, we kind of talked about, we didn't want to have a school for autism. We wanted to have the best. We want to give these kids the best that we possibly can. So Cognia is definitely a leader on that, and grateful to all those who are involved who can help Polaris Academy reach that. Let's talk about therapy. Now, Aaron was on board early on, great educator, good track record, awesome reputation, but we're still missing a big piece, the therapy side.
Yeah.
Walk me through that. How did that all come about?
Well, it's funny. So when I explained the idea to him, his initial reaction was, well, Nathan, we don't need therapy. This is what teachers do, which I expected, and it's fine.
Because again, it goes back to that swim lane.
Yes.
Right? Don't cross the streams, right?
Yes.
I mean, like, okay, so he had his lane.
And bear in mind, Brad, his view of a BCBA, which is a board certified behavior analyst, I think we've got another episode on what that is in ABA therapy.
Well, yeah.
There were at the time 5 BCBAs for all of Mesa Public Schools. I think they're down to maybe 1. So that's 1 for 60 to 70,000 students.
Wow.
We have 2 at our school of 100 kids.
Holy cow.
Right. So it was a different level of implementation than he'd ever seen or conceptualized. And part of what made the idea unique, Brad, and a lot of families have heard of ABA and they have their opinions, good, bad, or otherwise. What we're doing at Polaris is different than ABA you can find anywhere else. ABA is funded traditionally through health insurance, and so it's limited to just medical necessity. So when it was developed 40, 50 years ago, it was proven to be the most effective therapy for kids on the spectrum, period. Like it is the approach to help to program new neural pathways for them to learn social and behavioral integration skills. The struggle is to make that available to the masses. We used health insurance because that's something everybody had. But then that took this whole chunk of ABA away and says, well, now you're limited to just medical needs. And there are sections in medical provider handbooks on what ABA therapists cannot do. And when I read those sections, it is like a blueprint for exactly what we do at Polaris.
Oh, wow.
It's academic goals. It's life functional and social skills. I mean, we are applying the skill set these clinicians had in ways that they've never been allowed to. So that's kind of this unique blend that we get with Polaris.
So like so what you're saying is that on their insurance, ABA therapists, by their credentialing or by the providers, they cannot provide academic goals.
Yes, by regulation.
By regulation on the per the insurance. So if you're going to bill insurance for their service, you can't do that.
That's correct.
That's crazy.
That's why ABA is ABA and school is school.
Yeah, that's, again, don't cross the streams.
Yeah. So the unique blend is every one of our classrooms has both a teacher as well as licensed behavior technicians.
Well, before we get there, let's
Okay.
back up. We were jumping ahead,
Sorry.
and that's all exciting. Like, I know we're all very passionate, which is awesome.
I can't help myself.
But let's talk about, okay, again, March of 2023.
Oh, yeah, right.
We have to go back there a little bit. So Aaron, he says yes. And then you bring up, okay, Aaron, if we're going to do this, we need to have BCBAs because we need the therapy side. And that's really, really important. Aaron at first was like, and again, I love Aaron, but again, you think about the world that academic lives in, and I don't blame him. We don't need that. And from what I remember is in public education, for the most part, ABA therapists are brought in or BCBAs are brought in a high crisis situation.
Correct.
They're not there to do preventative. Well, I mean, they are there to do help with preventative, but mostly educators, supervisors, they see BCBAs as, hey, we have a crisis. Where's my BCBA? Right? And that's kind of normally the world that they live in.
Yep, either that or for a training resource sometimes to teach skill patterns, yeah.
Perfect. So then now you bring up, okay, Aaron, we need to have a BCBA. And he might be thinking, what crisis are we in? How did that conversation come about? Walk us through that.
Yeah, well, it's so during COVID, we had a provider for my son that we even offered a private pay because we wanted to use, we could see the skills, we could see how effective it was. And I wanted it applied to other aspects of his life. And I was willing to pay for that. And to be frank, it worked really well. Having that in a tutoring scenario where he was getting somebody to help with supports while at the same time somebody was doing lesson planning. So both the providers felt supported. The academic didn't have to be wearing 2 hats, right? That's what I wanted. I didn't want it to feel like 2 separate things.
Okay.
And so I needed somebody that understood that. And it was just, again, call it providence or what you will. My cousin married a woman that had experience with special needs and autism. And he says, hey, you should go talk to my wife sometime.
Okay.
So in fact, I helped him buy their house back in my real estate days. And so I give her a call and say, hey, can I come and just chat about you with an idea? And I share this idea with her, that I had about blending them together. And she says, you need to call this person Rachel. She's a friend of mine. She'd be perfect.
No, who is your cousin?
Haley Palmer.
Okay, Haley Palmer.
Yep. Who now runs Starlight, which
Starlight
is another.
Behavior.
I mean, it's everybody's.
We'll get there in a second. So then Haley was like, I like your vision. Go and talk to Rachel.
Yep. Rachel Krupe says you need to give her a call.
Okay.
And I just said, okay. She said she's in ABA. She knows about this, and maybe you could pick her brain.
Okay.
I call Rachel. Never met her before. She's never met me. We have no connection outside of Haley said this guy Nathan's going to be calling you, and I called her because my cousin told me to. And an hour later on that phone call, for some reason, she agreed to work for me and be hired as part of Polaris. Again, without knowing our name or what we were doing or a place to go or even how I was going to pay her.
Uh-huh.
Again, and we'd never met, but when I started sharing the idea, I could just hear the energy on the other side of the call. She was a mom of a child on the spectrum, and she's like, if I had had this when he was young, it would have been so different. And instantly, she could see the vision of it. So yeah, it was just, again, another phone call that was meant to be.
Now, are you just a really good salesperson, or are you just working with the right people? I mean, who else does this?
Brad, I would wager to say if you asked Aaron and Rachel why they did this, they'd give you the same answer I did. They felt pulled towards it.
Wow. And, you know, the more I think about this, you think about the vision that you and Darcy created. And sometimes, you heard that people get sold more on the vision of what can happen than anything else. And I think that's kind of where all these stars start to align. You're working with people that, as you're painting the picture, they want to paint with you.
Yeah.
And they want to create this wonderful community with you. That's incredible.
Yeah. And I have to think if it was just a good sales pitch and a smoke screen, they wouldn't have all come back for year two.
No, because nobody would do this.
No.
Most people, if they jump careers, jump jobs, they want security, they want benefits, they want guarantee. But now Aaron and Rachel, they're just, they want to jump on the carnival ride with you. That's really, so did Rachel agree right there on the phone call, or
on the phone? Yeah.
Or did you have to do a follow-up meeting and show her cash flow projections and
No, contract came a long time later. She was in.
Wow.
At that point, it was just, let me introduce you to the team. And I met her in person the same time you and Aaron did.
Wow. Oh, that is true. So you met her the first time. I met her too.
In person.
In person, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember you were telling me, hey, we have this wonderful lady named Rachel. We want to meet with her. And again, at that time, I'm still trying to figure out what BCBA stands for. So I was just kind of trusting. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Polaris Connection. We are going to begin part 2 the following week to kind of dive into more of the great details and the community that Nathan and Darcy has built with Polaris Academy.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you so much.